So Skeleton Crew episode 7 is out, so let's talk about it. Some important details about this episode. First thing would have to be we're finally back on At-Aten. After a few episodes of not being on At-Aten with the kids, we're finally back on the planet. So that's, good leading up to the last episode. Another thing would have to be also the kids are back with their parents. Obviously, that's been a massive part of the series, and finally they are all reunited. Another thing is we got to see a lightsaber in action. It was sad when it was used, but there was a lightsaber used in this episode. And the last thing would be Jod is definitely a villain. Before you're is Jod a villain? Obviously, he's not a good guy, but in this episode, he is definitely a villain in this. So the good things with this episode, the first thing would have to be I really liked how the kids finally get to see their parents again. Now, obviously, that's been a big thing in this series. Ever since they left the planet, they're always talking about, I miss my family. I want to see him again. This episode, we actually get to see that happen, which is just really nice to see. The second thing would have to be, we got to see a lot of the pirate stuff again in this episode. We got to see some in other ones, but this one, we got to see a lot of. And obviously, I've kind of been negative on the fact that we haven't gotten to see a lot of, what they do. This one is a pretty decent amount. And the third thing would have to be Jod's character, if nothing else, is interesting. Obviously, I don't stand at all for what he's doing, but he is a very interesting character. So that leaves us with the bad, and once again, I really only have one thing to say, and that these episodes are just too short. I know, it's a TV show, and I don't expect it to be, super long, but a lot of these episodes are just like a couple minutes too short, and I just want to see more. This is a problem with a lot of the episodes in this series, but again, if the episode's just a tiny bit longer, I feel like this could be, really good. I'm going to give this episode a 7.3 out of 10 and overall a 7.1 out of 10. I'm still really liking where this is going, and this episode was just fine to me.